What up, guys, and welcome to another episode of The Block is Hot. Today is Saturday, which means we're going over this week's CNFT market update. And it's honestly been an insane week, guys. It's honestly been 2 insane weeks, especially with Ape Society going bananas, a lot more volume coming into the space, and a lot of random projects seemingly pumping out of nowhere. So we have a lot to dissect here, so without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, guys, how does the overall volume look in the Cardano NFT market? And as you can see, in the last 30 days, guys, we actually have been getting a large push up when it comes to the overall volume in the space. When you look at earlier in the month of September, a lot of days we were anywhere from 400,000 ADA all the way to 600,000 ADA, and it was honestly a pretty rough time. Liquidity was really bad, and it was kind of a dry month where not a lot was really happening with mints. A lot of mints weren't doing good, a lot of marketplace stuff. It just wasn't a good month, right? And ever since October started, we've actually been going on a decent push up, going more into that 900,000 to 1.2 million ADA range. And we even had some days where we went all the way back up to 1.5 million ADA, which hasn't happened in seemingly forever, guys. And there's a couple reasons this is happening. One, a lot of people from Ethereum and Solana are finally starting to pay attention to Cardano NFTs. We had a couple major influencers from Ethereum and Solana start to pay attention to this chain. And as I was saying earlier in some of my other videos, the whole entire Vassal hard fork is hopefully going to bring in a lot more TVL, a lot more money into this ecosystem, and inevitably, guys, that is also going to translate into our NFT market. Another reason things have been going crazy is we just had CNFT Con this past week, which I went. It was a really cool experience, and we also have one project in particular, Ape Society, making major waves in the space. They have gone on a tremendous run, but a little more on that later. Now, how exactly am I navigating this market? Because this market has changed a lot, and as always, guys, you need to be able to adapt to the different meta if you want to stay ahead in this space. And if you don't want to stay ahead, then you're just going to get left behind. So it's important to pay attention to these metas. The first thing that I'm doing is I'm really laying off of minting new stuff. When we're in a crazy market like we are right now, not just in NFTs, but in the world, I don't want to be putting my money into projects that haven't even come out yet, that haven't shown any promise, or that I don't even know their founders. So a lot of mints I'm simply not going for, and I think a lot of people can relate to that because a lot of projects haven't been selling out, and the few that have been selling out have been going near floor. So unless it's the occasional project, most of the time I have not been minting it, and I've just been saving my ADA because an ADA saved is an ADA earned at the end of the day, or at least that's what I like to think. Now, when it comes to other mints from projects that have already released, those are mints I feel a lot more comfortable going for because they've already had a track record, right? I am comfortable minting Aonomi Sky, or however the heck you say it, because I know they already have a track record. And I was comfortable minting the heck out of Clumsy Valley from Clumsy Ghosts because I already knew they had a track record, they were already building stuff, and that I could trust the team. So those are kind of what I'm doing when it comes to mints. Other than that, I'm really just trying to find projects that are undervalued, that I know are building, that are hardworking, that have these communities, but a lot of people don't know about them yet. Because recently, guys, if you're paying attention to these other projects out there, like Ape Society or Derp Birds or Mutants, you'll see that a lot of new people are coming from Ethereum and Solana. They're not looking for these new mints. They're instead looking for projects that are building, but they don't know about the projects that are in the building phase and haven't released anything yet. And that's why you've seen projects in particular like Mutants and Derp Birds go on such a run, is because a lot of people from different chains have seen these projects. They see that they have the hype right now. They see that they've built stuff, and then they want to get into them rather than trying to do research on all these new upcoming mints. So my personal strategy, the big strategy, is just finding projects that I know are working hard, that I know have something coming out soon, but people haven't caught on yet. But yeah, now on to the top 10. The top 10 biggest movers this week when it comes to Cardano NFT volume are Ape Society at number 1 with 1.1 million ADA worth of volume, Cabins by the Ape Society coming in with 605,000 6,000 ADA worth of volume. We then have Spacebudz at number 3, Chilled Kongs at 4, Clay Nation by Claymates at 5, a new project, Lovelace Club, The Mask, coming in at number 6, another new project, JPG Junkies at 7. We then have Mutants at 8, JRney at 9, and coming in at number 10, we have Ghostchain. As always, guys, or as more recently, I'm just going to kind of do a one-take style here when it comes to going over these CNFT market updates, because honestly, it's a lot easier on my freaking throat right now, and I feel like it's a lot more personable. But yes, number 1, Ape Society. Ape Society is sitting at 6,000 ADA. This is absolutely ridiculous, guys. They went from 1,600 ADA. Let me see if we can check the activity chart here. Yes, they literally went from like a month ago, minimum sale price of about 1,500, 1,600 ADA, all the way to 6,000 ADA floor within a month's period of time. Absolutely ridiculous. It actually reminded me of a video that I had done months and months and months ago, how I was saying I could see Ape Society being worth 50, 60, 70,000 ADA in the future. And it's kind of crazy that we're starting to see a big jump in these different CNFTs. It's been a really long time since we've had a floor over 6,000 ADA. I think at one point Spacebudz were there temporarily, but for us to be holding at this level is pretty insane. And honestly, big shout out to the Ape Society team. Now, why the heck have these Ape Societies, as well as their cabins, which were at like 200 ADA for the longest time, gone on an absolute run? Well, guys, it has to do with their whole entire frame staking system that finally released. Essentially, guys, every single ape has a different base multiplier. And what you're able to do is you're able to take your society tokens and you're able to build these frames. Now, there's actually 7 different levels with these frames. And as you upgrade your frame, you can basically stake your NFT to that frame. And the higher the level the frame, the more rewards you get. Now, you can actually upgrade these frames by spending more society token. That society token is then burned and taken out of circulation. You can't resell your frames. And then also there's a cooldown period in order to upgrade these different frames. Now, in order to use these frames, you are going to need these cabins, and depending on what size cabin you have is going to determine how many frames you can use. What's really interesting about this as well, guys, is that they just recently allowed for non-ape projects to stake if they buy a frame and if they buy these cabins, which was a really smart move. I thought at first that this would just simply increase inflation to a much higher level, but I think it would take over 3 months, based on what I had calculated, for them to even get their money back from the frame that they would have to buy, because the multiplier of staking a non-ape NFT is a lot lower. Now, what exactly is the use case for these different utility tokens? Well, guys, the main use case right now is burning them to get bigger frames to then earn more society tokens. But they also have these different landmarks, one of which was announced with Lending Pond in their V2. Lending Pond is going to have a whole entire betting prediction for NFTs, and I think a percentage of these different revenues are going to go back towards people that have cabins around that landmark. But regardless, they're going to have these different cabins, and hopefully they're going to be able to use the society token as a use case for those different landmarks. Now, what's really interesting, guys, is I come from a DeFi background, and I think there's a lot of FOMO and a lot of craze right now for society and for these apes and just how much money people are making. And even though it is crazy right now, I just want to warn everyone to be careful, because most of the time, these different coins, these different utility coins that come out end up blowing up. And they end up just imploding on themselves, because all of this incoming inflation of that token eventually gets to the point where new demand isn't outweighing that. And when you have supply outweighing the new demand coming in, then that in turn is going to lower the price of society token. Now, when I first looked into their tokenomics, I was really worried because the whole concept of their tokenomics right now is, hey, you get society token, and then you burn that society token in order to earn more society token. And that, to me, as someone that has been on over 10 different chains on a lot of different DeFi protocols, is a recipe for disaster ultimately, because not only is 65% of the supply going to be inflationary with everyone's staking rewards, but now you're pretty much exponentially growing the growth rate of that incoming supply. And even though you can do things like have different projects come in that are accepted, and now all of a sudden they're buying society token in order to partake in this as well, you kind of run into a situation where eventually people are going to start selling. And when people start selling, now all of a sudden apes could take a hit and cabins can take a hit. So you have to be a little careful. Now, to kind of counteract this a little bit is they have this whole entire remaining rewards and daily emissions. And essentially what they're going to do, guys, is they are in control of how much society token is actually being emitted on a daily basis. So essentially right now you can go and upgrade your different frames, spend a ton of society, get a higher percent rate, but then they can come along in the future and they can actually say, hey guys, instead of 1 million society tokens a month, we're instead going to do 100,000 society tokens in a month. So essentially upgrading your frames right now is all about having a bigger percentage of the pie, but that pie can get smaller and smaller based on what the team decides to do. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic where I haven't really seen this before, where they kind of have this inflating bubble, which is ultimately, in my opinion, going to pop, but they put like a little fire pit next to it where people can just keep burning their society tokens. And what's kind of interesting is all these society tokens are going to people that own these apes that are diamond handing these society tokens and just upgrading their frames. So it kind of blows my mind. I haven't really seen anything like this. And you can see society token has just been going absolutely crazy in a way that I have a hard time believing is sustainable long term. But what's really interesting is a lot of people can be burning their society token right now, thinking that this is just going to keep going up, upgrading their frames, getting a crazy growth rate. And then all of a sudden, if things start really dropping and a lot of people really start selling their society token, now all of a sudden they can say, hey guys, we're lowering emissions. So it's kind of interesting. I feel like if they balance this appropriately, maybe they're going to be able to pull it off. But if I'm a society holder right now, it's kind of crazy that you could be spending all this society in order to upgrade your frames, thinking you're going to get X amount of society, but at any point in time, because they don't even have dates on their paper, they can basically say, hey guys, we're cutting the actual amount of rewards. Yes, you still have that higher growth rate compared to everyone else, but there's a chance that you might have been better off just holding your society rather than investing it in these frames. So pretty interesting stuff. You know, regardless of what happens here, big shout out to Ape Society. I like Ape Society. I think they're doing big things. Obviously, they're the kings of hype. I'm constantly seeing them in different Twitter spaces. So big shout out to them. If you're someone looking to invest right now, I have a hard time recommending it, right? I'm the type of guy where if things are too hot, that's when I take a step back. That's when I chill. This is, to me, this is FOMO. When you're going from 0.0349 to 0.18 within a month, and then you have the base NFT project go up 4x and their cabins go up 2x in such a short amount of time. And I'm just putting out the warning before you go out and you see people that own 400 apes making 2,000, 3,000 ADA a day. Realize, guys, that it's not always going to be like that. And as more people do this, that reward is going to be split even more. And then, of course, if people start dumping, if people start freaking out, that's going to have an impact on price as well. So very interesting what they're doing. I haven't really seen a project have this sort of setup before, and it'll be interesting to see how exactly this plays out in the long term. Now, holy crap, I wasn't expecting to talk about Ape Society that long. I just figured there's probably a lot of people that are wondering about it, and I figured I'd do a little bit more of a deep dive of my opinion just because go on Solana, guys. Please go on Solana, go on Ethereum, and look at these different projects that have come out with their utility token, because we're kind of in the staking and utility token meta on Cardano right now, and see how many are actually valuable after a month, after 2 months, after 3 months, after 6 months, after a year. Pretty much none. But, you know, maybe they can pull it off at a high level, and there's a lot of stuff they haven't released yet. Now, the next thing here, Chilled Kongs. Now, Chilled Kongs, I haven't made a video in a while about it, but Chilled Kongs is a project that had a lot of FUD. One of the owners, Aussie or OC, however you want to say his name, he was pretty much part of another project, Baby Alien Club, I believe it's called. And basically, he had left that project, went to this project. It was this whole ordeal. Chilled Kongs went all the way down to 1,000 ADA, and now all of a sudden they rallied all the way back up to 2,000 ADA. I haven't been able to see anything in the Discord to why this has happened. Their whole entire airdrop of their shrooms got delayed again. I don't know what that next date is. I personally think a lot of people saw Ape Society going crazy, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can get into Chilled Kongs. Chilled Kongs used to be bigger than Ape Society. I can buy 3 Chilled Kongs for the same price as 1 Ape Society right now. Maybe I buy some Chilled Kongs. So I think that's why they personally pumped up. But yeah, on to the next project here. Spacebudz. Now, Spacebudz actually was under 3,000 ADA for a while now, and it finally just popped back up over 3,000 ADA. This is once again a project that had a lot of FUD in the past month, guys, but they're starting to come back a little bit. And this is a project that I'm actually paying attention to and might buy in soon, simply because we know that that new art is going to come out eventually. When that comes out, there's going to be a lot of new hype and a lot of new interest in Spacebudz again. And honestly, if I know Alessandro at all, he's probably cooking up some crazy stuff. And they're the type of team that are building stuff behind the scenes that don't talk about it. And Spacebudz are one of those things where if you're not in and they finally release what they were working on and it's a big deal, you could miss out on an insane run. So I honestly don't hate buying a Spacebud at this price right now. You know, I like paying attention to projects that people aren't paying attention to. And with all the craze going on right now with Ape Society and Chilled Kongs and all this stuff, I think that Spacebudz might deserve a little attention soon. And on to the next thing is Clay Nation here. Now, I'm pretty bullish on Clay Nation and Clay Token in the long run. They kind of came out of nowhere with their whole entire min swap launch bowl, which I honestly would need to make a whole entire video for. Now, for those that don't know about their launch bowl, it's essentially a good long-term move that's going to add a lot more liquidity in their Clay to ADA pool. So now all of a sudden, if you're trading ADA to Clay or Clay to ADA, there shouldn't be as big of a price jump or a price difference when you're making those different trades. Because if you were, trading with 50, 60,000 ADA guys, I mean, you were moving the price, you were moving the price like 8-9%, just the price impact because there wasn't enough liquidity. Now, essentially, they're planning on doing this whole launch bowl to add more liquidity, which in the short term, in my opinion, hurts people that bought Clay early, right? But it is beneficial for the long term for them. Now, what's interesting about this is they basically said, hey, we were talking to some lawyers, blah, 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 and it doesn't look like this would be legal in the US. So now they're trying to figure out a new solution for that. Once they do that, though, whatever they do, whether they do the launch bowl, and this is positive long term, but in the short term, it kind of screws over early investors, or if they don't do the launch bowl and actually helps early investors, regardless, I am bullish on Clay in the long term. I sold a decent amount of my Clay after I heard about the launch bowl because it kind of came out of nowhere, but it is something that you guys have to pay attention to. If they don't do that launch bowl, I actually think the price movement is going to be pretty fast for the Clay token, and it's going to be very similar to what happened with Society, in my opinion, especially since they're going to have the yield farming rewards. So now all of a sudden there's an incentive to buy Clay. And then all of a sudden on top of that, they're going to have their whole pants release. And if that Clay token pumps up a lot, now all of a sudden all these Clays that are staking, now all of a sudden they generate more Clay token, which means if Clay goes up, that is more ADA, and you're going to have a very similar situation to Society and the Ape Society, where now all of a sudden, because their token is going up a lot, their NFTs go up a lot. But also the reverse happens too, guys, and that's why I put a little bit of a warning. If all of a sudden Ape Society's token goes from 18.3 ADA all the way down to 10 ADA, you'd be crazy to think that their apes aren't going to go down with that. Now, next thing here, JPG Junkies. Now, JPG Junkies is a project that released recently from the NFT Alpha team. They haven't really talked much about utility besides maybe some custom merch and maybe some exclusive events, but they are kind of teasing that they're going to have more utility in the future. I personally didn't mint any of these. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that too much, but personally, I have not invested in this project. I also don't like investing in things where I don't know what they're building. I would much rather know what they're building than, have the hype, oh, what's coming next. I'd much rather invest knowing what's coming next. So right now I'm on the sidelines for this project and I haven't invested. Next thing here, Lovelace Club, the Mask. Now this was another project that just released this past week. And it's all these 3D masks that honestly look pretty cool. Like they've got different styles to them. It's not bad, you know? And I actually talked to the owner on a Discord VC call in the Block Investment Group, and he's very well knowledge. He's very well informed. He has the right intentions with this project. I got a really good read off of him. And two of the things that they're doing with this project is that they actually already made a totally decentralized lottery pool where you can go on their site, you can connect your wallet, and you can buy these lottery tickets. And at the end of the week, I think it's something like 90, like maybe 93%, basically gets distributed between everyone that entered into this lottery. And then the remaining 7% are distributed to everyone that hold these masks. So it's cool that they already built this before they released their project. They're also making a whole entire ADA Connect system that's kind of like a messaging app for people that just want to connect their wallet and not have a Gmail or a phone number attached. And, you know, it's pretty interesting. There's this app called Mercury that I believe is already doing a full-fledged messaging thing, and it hasn't really taken off. So I do like this lottery idea more. Just realize though, guys, that in order for this to be significant passive income for these Lovelace clubs, they definitely need a ton of ADA going into this, because they're only taking 7% of this prize pool, and then they're dividing it by 4,444 to the best of my knowledge. So it ends up not being a lot of ADA, but if this is something that takes off, could be pretty cool. And you know that they're a team that are willing to build and have the right intentions. So I don't own any right now, but it's something I'm paying attention to. Now, next thing here, Mutant Crocs. Mutants are one of those projects that I brought up in the beginning of this video that are a project that have been building and have finally released something, and they released something at the right time, because now all of a sudden all these people from Ethereum and Solana, they're looking for projects to invest in that are utility based, which they're more used to on Solana and on Ethereum, and they found Mutants as one of those main projects. Now, Mutants have their whole entire staking system, and they are allowing every project to use their staking system. I believe like Mallard Order and JRney and a couple other ones are already using it. Now, what's interesting is they have to own, as a project, 9 mutants. They have to own at least 1 mutant croc, mice, and toad, and then the rest can be whatever it wants. And they also basically created a whole entire raffle system that a lot of people have been using. It can either be for ADA or a utility token. And with that, projects need to own an additional 3 mutants for a total of 12. Now, a lot of people have been doing these raffles. They've been able to burn a lot of different supply by doing these different raffles, and at the same time generate another revenue stream. And if you guys want, in my opinion, what I think the meta is, the long-term meta, it's projects that build out different revenue streams and find a way to bring that value or bridge that value or flow that value back to the holders of their main collection. And that's what Mutants are doing right now. That's what Derp Birds are doing. And that's what the Block Investment Group is doing. And I honestly believe, guys, this is the only efficient meta. This is the only thing that makes sense in the long term for NFTs, other than major companies with already established and big brands like Disney coming in and basically dominating with their brand, or if you have, you know, different gaming projects. But besides those 3, I think a lot of projects simply aren't going to make it unless they come out with these different revenue streams when it comes to the long term. Now, one thing that I also want to bring up with these mutants, and maybe this is a whole other conversation, is just staking and whether or not I think staking is a trend like metaverse, or if staking is actually going to be something that's around for the long term. But you know what? I'm going to do that in a different video, because this video is going to be an hour and a half. If I crack into that, like, I'm just not going to shut up. But next thing here, JRney. Now, shout out to these guys. They were at CNFT and I honestly believe they had the best looking booth at compared to everyone. And fun fact about this, all of their booth supplies didn't come in on time. So they, in their Airbnb, had to go to like Home Depot, buy a bunch of construction stuff, and put together their whole entire booth, which was the best looking booth in my opinion. And they did this day and night, 2 days before the whole entire CNFT con. So big shout out to them. Now with JRney, they're doing their staking soon with Mutants, where you're going to be able to get their token. They have a Halloween collection coming up. I believe there's 666 of them. And let me see what else I wrote about them. I think that's pretty much it though. yeah, they have their Mingo token. They have a really cool team and art, like I was just talking about. I had met them at CNFT Con, and yeah, they're doing the whole entire raffles with their token. So nothing too crazy that's in the pipeline right now with them, but definitely a project to pay attention to. I like their team. They were kind of in a boring phase for a while. Price really settled, and now it's gotten a little bit of a bounce up. I think this project has potential. I own like 3 of them right now, but yeah, I'm kind of just paying attention. I think a lot of these projects that are staking and having these utility tokens and then randomly pumping, I think this is a very short-term thing in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, that's another video. Next thing here, Ghostchain. So Ghostchain is essentially, guys, trying to create a Flipper, which is going to be a marketplace that competes with JPEG Store. And basically the cool thing about Flipper is whenever you use it, you get these Flipper tokens as a reward or as an incentive to use their platform. So pretty cool. And then they're hoping that they can take some of that money and then basically swing back to people that own these different ghost chains. And you can kind of see here, their website looks pretty clean. They have been working on this for a while. Their last announcement was literally like a month ago. So I don't know why they just randomly started popping off. I know that they are in the beta and they have been working on a lot of things, so maybe something to pay attention to. But to be honest, guys, over 95% of the market share is going on JPEG Store right now. And I think the only thing that will overtake JPEG Store, if it happens, is a royalty-free marketplace, which is actually the latest drama going on in Solana right now. Magic Eden actually just made royalties optional because they had a competitor say, hey, we're not doing royalties, and they've been taking a lot of the market share from Magic Eden. So I think inevitably that's going to happen on Cardano as well. That's once again a whole other video. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to hear my thoughts and opinions on that. But yeah, on to the next thing. Introverts. Now, if you're in the Block Investment Group Discord, or if you're following our Twitter, you'll know that I made a play a couple weeks ago on 2 projects. I made a play on Introverts and I made a play on Clumsy Ghost. Introverts were literally sitting at 160 ADA literally a couple weeks ago when I made the play. And everyone in the Block Investment Group that's watching, I hope that you were able to pick up some Introverts. I think the Introverts art looks good. They have their whole entire Halloween collection coming soon. They have their whole entire C points when it comes to their staking, which you're going to be able to go into their Cosmic shop and get different upgrades for your NFTs. They have a whole entire app coming out that any project can use if they have like 15 to 20 introverts coming out early next year. They have these whole entire artifacts that are going to be whitelisted. There's going to be like 5 different artifacts, and that's coming out over the next couple months. So honestly, a lot going on with the project. Marcus is a great dude. D-Nice is really nice as well. I didn't mean to do the pun there. But yeah, I think a lot of people are finally starting to pay attention to these introverts. There aren't a lot of people in the space that I think get it. Like there aren't a lot of project owners I talk to where I'm like, okay, they get it. Like they understand, they get the bigger picture. Marcus is one of those that I got that read from. I got that feel from. So he's constantly looking for different innovative ways to do stuff. And I'm glad to see that this project is finally starting to pump. Their activity has been crazy and they deserved a shout out. And I'm glad I got in at like 170. I wish I bought a couple more, but you know, can't complain too much. And yeah, if you guys want to learn a little bit more about their whole entire things that are coming out, check out their Cosmic paper. They go into the staking, they go into their C points. They don't talk about their Introverts app a lot, but they also talk about these different artifacts and how they're, you know, the wild spirits, and you know, this is going to have a different effect on your introvert. So pretty cool stuff overall. Now, the next project I literally just said that I shouted out was Clumsy Ghost. Clumsy Ghost, I had bought 10 Clumsy Ghosts a couple weeks ago as well, anywhere from 300 to about 380 ADA. The reason I bought them, though, is I think this project is really slept on. I think it has a lot of upside potential, and I think it's a project that's been building for a long time, and not a lot of people know that they're building. And one of the reasons I bought it is because I could have gone absolutely ham on their Clumsy Valley, which was their land sale that happened on like the 30th of last month. Basically, with your Clumsy Ghost, you could just keep minting them, you know, in tier 2. And I had minted over 105 of these Clumsy Valley with 10 Clumsy Ghosts. So I'm pretty happy about that. I actually got one of the 45 specials, which made up for a lot of the land. I'm still holding on to that. But overall, I like Clumsy. I like Clumsy Ghost. They're building a whole entire build to earn type game where you can put your ghost on these different plots of land, and then you get these resources resources, and you can basically use these resources to build different NFTs. And they have a whole entire BattleBots NFT scheme that you can make early next year and battle your different bots together. And they just have a lot of different other exciting stuff. Definitely a project to keep your eyes on, guys. Once again, I said the meta right now is looking for projects that are building, that you can trust, that already have communities, but people aren't paying attention to, because the moment these different things come out, like this game that's going to come out sometime in the next 2 months, you're going to have a lot more eyes on it from people that just didn't know about it or weren't exposed to it. So yeah, enough pumping my bags on those two. Next thing here, Derp Birds. Talked to Dave at CNFT Con a little bit. We never ended up playing Smash Bros. If you're listening, Dave, but he's a really good dude. I wish I had paid more attention in this project early on, but you kind of get like sidetracked with a lot of different stuff, and I didn't give it enough attention. But Dave works his butt off. I like this project. The community is strong AF, bro, and they have a lot of stuff they're building as well. Similar to oh my gosh, similar to Mutants, they literally have their own staking where projects can stake to, and they also have raffles just like Mutants. They both were working on the same thing at the same time, but I don't care, guys, because I like projects that are building revenue streams, because that is where the meta is at, and that's what I'm personally doing with my project Jellycubes. I just think that's the meta, like building revenue streams, like especially now that royalties are questionable, because I really expect in the next 6 months to have a royalty-free marketplace on Cardano. But regardless, Derp Birds are doing a lot more than just having a whole entire raffle and staking system. They got Cosmos from Pendulum that is going to be redoing a lot of their art. They just released this new roadmap, which kind of shows their raffles and their Derp Bird token and this whole entire Predator invasion thing, which is going to be kind of like an arcade game from my understanding. So pretty cool stuff. And they also have their whole entire white paper here on how you can actually get this Derp token, how you can use it in these different arcade games that they're going to have, how you can get this token from staking. Pretty cool stuff. I'm going to keep my eye on this Derp token because if it does anything like Mutant token or Society token or some of these other tokens, I expect this token to do relatively well. But yeah, cool stuff overall, and I'm glad to see them get a lot more recognition because they honestly deserve it. Next thing here, now Cardano Warriors. Now I didn't know a lot about Cardano Warriors, honestly, but I wanted to cover this project because they went on a crazy run over the past month and they had like a crazy dragon sell for like a ridiculous amount of money. So I decided to do a little bit more of a deep dive on it. And basically, guys, they're making this whole entire, they just had like a land claim for all their land. And they're basically like, you can, let me open this up, but basically like they've already done a lot of development stuff where you can kind of build on your land. I'm sorry if the music is too loud here, but yeah, pretty cool stuff. They show all these different biomes, kind of reminding me a little bit about like what Clumsy Valley is going to look like. They also have they also have like this cool little art book thing that I thought was cool. Like this is just a cool little thing. And then they showed a little bit of gameplay down here. Let me pop this up. So you kind of have like this random monster appear type deal, and now you can go on an adventure with your different Cardano Warriors, kind of, you know, chase this thing. I don't know, man. Like I said, I haven't done like a super deep dive on this project yet, but it does seem pretty promising. Like it takes a while to actually build these different things like this, and I feel like not a lot of people knew about Cardano Warriors, including myself. I think it's like an OG project that honestly just hasn't been on my radar, but something interesting. They don't have like a ton of engagement, it seems, on their Discord for these different things. So it could be a sleeper pick if they're actually building a lot of stuff. But I'm going to wait for this project to calm down a little bit more. Maybe wait like another week or two. And if it calms down a little bit more, goes a little bit lower, maybe I'll scoop some up. But I don't like getting into projects after they pump. Now, Mocossi's project that's been building for a long time. They've held their floor super well. They have breeding where you could get these Mocossi ITO2s, which have honestly held their price very, very well at around 45 ADA. I don't know why that came up, but yeah, you can breed them. They also have their beta gameplay coming out very, very soon. I think they said, I want to say the 24th or 25th. I have so much crap written down here, guys. The 24th. So they have their whole entire beta version of this whole entire pet game, you know, like it's one of those cute little games that you see randomly blow up. So that beta is coming out soon. So I think a lot of people are excited for that. You can actually sign up for their alpha. And because of that, these have actually gone on a little bit of a run. And this is a team, even though I'm not like a huge Mocossi art style person. This is a team that is constantly building, and I recognize that they are building a lot. And if you haven't paid attention to this project, pay attention to it. They are building a lot and they're doing a lot in the space, and a lot of people don't really talk about them. I think kind of like the whole pet play to earn thing is not everyone's style. And like a lot of people in Cardano NFTs or crypto in general are men. And, that could have had a negative aspect to it. But regardless, they're building a lot of stuff. Now, the next thing I wanted to bring up, or the last thing here, is I got to show my own project. I got to show Jellycubes. There's only like 27 Jellycubes listed right now. Floor super thin, so thank you to everyone that's been supporting the project. One little update that I want to say about Jellycubes is we actually went live with our ADA Anvil staking, so people can finally claim their block drops. So right now, the block drop schedule is 10,054 ADA a month for the next 3 months. So this is the last month at 10,054 ADA. And then it literally goes up 5% every single quarter, with next quarter being 10,500 ADA. And you need to have at least 5 points of Jellycubes in order to claim these different block drops. So pretty cool stuff. We already gave out 21,000 ADA to make up for the first 2 months. We're going to give another 10,000 ADA at the end of this month. And for those wondering, the good question, if you don't know a lot about Jellycubes, how the hell do you keep this sustainable? And the answer is we have a lot of different revenue streams that we're building right now when it comes to doxing services, doxed calendars, when it comes to potentially automatic lending, custom node services. We've got some other things in the frying pan that we're cooking up as well. So that's pretty much what we're doing. Very similar to like what I said the meta is going to be with Mutant, Crocs, and Derp Birds, really just trying to build different tools that are going to help improve the overall ecosystem, then basically not only give utility to our holders with those tools, but also have a really great revenue stream that we can then hopefully feed back to our different holders. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this week's CNFT market update. I know that was a whole mouthful, guys. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening, and it's nice to see this in this space. Like I said, big shout out to Ape Society, big shout out to Mutants, Derp Birds, pretty much all the projects I covered for building in this bear market. I think one of the reasons Cardano NFTs are pumping and actually outperforming just simply holding crypto right now is because of what I've been saying in my previous videos. We're going to have a lot more eyes on this ecosystem. Now that Magic Eden literally doesn't have royalties anymore, we might have a lot more projects start to build on Cardano until we get rid of royalties, right? We have a lot more TVL coming in. I've already seen on DeFi Llama, we've had more money coming into the different DeFi projects. And a lot of these projects have still yet to release. They're going to release over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, 2 months, 3 months, right? So I'm hoping a lot more volume continues to come in. A lot more eyes start to pay attention to Cardano NFTs, especially with projects like Ape Society really blowing up and grabbing a lot of people's attention. And yeah, I'm just excited to be in this space. I'm excited to build in this space. I'm excited to cover in this space. Now, for those that just watch the YouTube side of things, I am going to try to make videos a lot more consistently. It's honestly been crazy trying to balance a lot of stuff. And YouTube is one of those things. A lot of people have never done YouTube, so they don't really understand YouTube, right? But it's something that takes a lot of energy. I mean, I probably spent the last 4 hours just researching projects on top of everything that I've already researched and everything I've already know, right? So it's a pretty exhausting thing. But one of the things I realized at CNFTCon, which kind of renewed my energy to do more YouTube videos, is it's a cool way to teach people things, to educate people, and to hopefully help people not make the same mistakes that I did, or at least have a different perspective or an easier way or an easier life trying to navigate the space. So I'm going to be doing these videos a lot more, knock on wood, especially, and I'm done traveling for a while after CNFTCon. I'm done traveling for a while. So hopefully we can get these consistent videos, and also make sure to follow my Twitter and follow the Discord, keep up to date with stuff, because I'm going to start doing a lot more Twitter spaces too. I feel like that's something that I personally have been lacking on, and I think that's something that can really help the overall space, hopefully. So yeah, stay tuned to that. Make sure to follow, and then that way you can get a little bit more information alpha. But yeah, see you guys later.